Now that we are all situated and have food, we are going to get started with our event. So I'm going to introduce our moderator, who is Matthew Mahalik. He is the Executive Director of the Breathe Collaborative and its communication platform, the Breathe Project, since September 2016. From 2007 to 2016, he served as Program Director of Sustainable Pittsburgh and has been teaching sustainability and environmental policy at Hines College, Carnegie Mellon University since 2008, and he has co-authored Ethical and Environmental Challenges to Engineering, and he serves on the board of Phipps Conservatory. So, I also want to highlight Ms. Paulette, who is with our Education Right Network. She will be our timekeeper, so she will make sure that everybody's time is today. All right, so we're going to go to Matt, who's going to be asking our questions. And
Okay, so if folks want to view the program, this is a paperless forum. So the program is available if you scan the QR code on the screen. And thanks for coming here today and being part of this forum. So first of all, I want to thank 412 Justice and the Environmental Justice Table for hosting the forum. They've done a wonderful job here. Thank you, especially Natasha. And I want to thank our candidates for being here today. Thank you so much for taking time to come here today on a holiday weekend and be here in this forum for some important questions. So now I want to introduce the candidates. I'm going to read their bios rather than taking up a lot of time having people introduce themselves. So the first bio is from Dave Fawcett. So Dave is one of Pittsburgh's top trial attorneys. Dave has fought against the abuses of power of big corporations, including in a series of high-profile, high-stake cases he's handled across the country. He has always been an environmental champion. When on county council, he sponsored legislation targeting Neville Island polluters and tightening air pollution regulations. Additionally, he sponsored other sustainability measures like ordinances limiting diesel emissions and implementing the smoking ban in restaurants, bars, and workplaces. Dave also spearheaded the passage of 2 ordinances empowering the county to create a countywide riverfront park, a transformative 10-county park. The park would involve backing railroad tracks away from our rivers to lessen the threat of potential catastrophic damage from train derailments and spills. Dave was an inaugural and long-term member of River Life, has long supported trail groups and land conservation organizations, and was fully endorsed by Clean Water Action when serving on county council. So thank you, Dave, for being here. We also have Sara Innamorato. So Sara is a lifelong Allegheny County resident and graduate of North Hills High School and currently resides in her hometown of Lawrenceville. Sara graduated magna cum laude from the University of Pittsburgh with a degree in business. After weathering the 2008 economic crash, Sara has secured a spot in a highly competitive leadership program at one of the largest global tech companies. Feeling the need to commit her skill set to serving others, she left the private sector to become a nonprofit professional focusing on issues of vacant land reclamation, food justice, and digital equity. As a state representative, she has introduced dozens of bills leading the fight to increase the supply of affordable housing, raise the minimum wage, secure environmental protections, address the opioid epidemic, establish the first Office of New Pennsylvanians, creating a working families tax credit, and protect reproductive health care. The 2022 session culminated with the passage of Sara's landmark whole home repairs legislation, which will provide $125 million in critical funding to keep seniors and those facing housing insecurity in their homes while investing in climate resilience and local workforce development. She serves as the vice chair of the Allegheny County delegation, as a member of the House Finance, Labor and Industry, Transportation, and Urban Affairs Committees, and is on the boards of the Urban Redevelopment Authority and Allegheny County Housing Authority. So thank you, Sara, for being here. Michael Lamb. So Michael Lamb is a lifelong resident of Allegheny County, born and raised in the Beachview neighborhood of Pittsburgh. After high school, he attended and graduated from Penn State University, then continued his education by earning a master's degree from Carnegie Mellon University, and then a Juris Doctorate from Duquesne University School of Law. After college, he helped students access financial aid to attend college, and then worked as an attorney where he fought to create more equitable outcomes for people who had no voice of their own. He saw how institutional discrimination prevents many people from getting a fair shake from government, from harsher sentencing for black individuals, to bitter custody battles for same-sex couples, years before same-sex marriage was enshrined into law. Wanting to be more involved in his community, he worked on campaigns across Allegheny County, including the campaign for Home Rule that expanded the voices of Allegheny County residents through an elected county council and executive. He then campaigned for the effort to consolidate the county row offices, including getting rid of his own job as Allegheny County Prothonotary, because it was the right thing to do. As Pittsburgh's controller for the past 15 years, he's focused his energy on looking for opportunities to make city government more transparent and efficient, closing tax loopholes used by large companies, and helping a distressed Pittsburgh government on a road towards financial stability. Thank you, candidate Lamb. And Will Parker. Will was born at Allegheny General Hospital and raised on the north side of Pittsburgh by his two parents. Ask anybody who knows Will, and they'll tell you that he's been an outgoing and adventurous all his life. After Will graduated from the Pittsburgh Public School District, which he attended from elementary school through high school, he attended that through elementary school through high school. Will has a large extended family and is intertwined with the fabric of some of Pittsburgh's most influential people, giving him the name, quote-unquote, Pittsburgh's son. Will is currently the CEO of VenSpin, which is a mobile delivery app that he founded. He's received awards and acknowledgments as an advocate for entrepreneurship and technology. Headquartered in the heart of the Steel City at the time, Will ran his business from an office at the top of the UPMC building. As Will sat and overlooked the city for years, he grew increasingly concerned about why we as a city and district weren't growing together. Will's answer was government disinvestment, which leads him to committing himself to providing the public with a transparent look at how their tax dollars are spent and who's benefiting from them through policy. Will has a huge heart and has helped a countless amount of people along his journey in so many different ways, from helping others start their own businesses to shoveling snow for seniors. If you can name it, Will has probably done it. Thank you, Will, for being here. So thanks to all of our candidates. Just to review the way this is going to work is that we have each candidate will be able to answer questions 3 minutes, but we're only going to have 2 candidates answer each question. So not every candidate will be answering every question in person, but they will have a chance to write a written response that will be posted on the website afterwards. So you will be able to hear from everyone here. So that's 3 minutes each for each question. The 10 questions have been submitted by 10 environmental justice organizations from around the region. And then at the end of this 10-question period, the audience is able to ask questions by writing those questions down on the note cards that are available at the registration desk, and then we'll ask those questions of the candidates. So, and then this is Ms. Paulette, as been mentioned before. She is our timekeeper. She'll be holding up a sign with the time remaining, 1 minute left, 30 seconds left, 10 seconds left, and then she will not be shy about saying, thank you very much for answering the question. Okay, so without any further delay, I'd like to begin the Q&A session. So the very first question was submitted by an organization that I'm very familiar with, the Breathe Project, of which I am the director. And so this question is, we'll have candidate Innamorato and candidate Fawcett answer this question. This question is about our county's health department. What are your top priorities for revamping our county health department so that it is more responsive to community environmental justice needs? Candidate Innamorato, please. Oh, you need a mic.
Do you want us to take this off?
That has enough cord to pass.
Hopefully it'll fall on.
Here it is. Great balance. Maybe we can actually do this behind the table.
They would be a great jazz group, sort of making it up as we go. It's fantastic. Do you need me to repeat the question?
Priorities for health department?
Yes, so that it's more responsive to community environmental justice needs. Thank you.
Great. Well, good morning, everyone, or I guess good afternoon. How are we doing? So I'm State Representative Sara Innamorato, and one of the top priorities that I want to take on as your next county executive is really designing a Department of Health that will center public health provisions and that really centers the needs of the people who are here in our region, because you all deserve a health department that centers public health, that addresses climate change, and undergirds equity in all the decisions that the health department makes. So part of that is really looking at who is appointed to the Board of Health and making sure that that is representative of those priorities. So ensuring that we have folks who are appointed to the Board of Health that have public health experience, that are climate scientists, and what I would say most importantly is folks from environmental justice communities who have lived experience. Because that is a wisdom that isn't always acknowledged in our public sector. You know, growing up here and losing my dad to opioids, losing my home because of that and our family stability, I know that that's informed my decision making and what I chose to prioritize as an elected official. Susie. And I know that that wisdom is extremely valuable in setting the priorities for the Department of Public Health, and that voice is critical when it comes to what our priorities are going to be. In order to build a strong Department of Health, we're going to have to look internal and make sure that we are designing a department that recruits the best people. So we have to look at raising our salaries, we have to look at instituting best practices on retention of these employees and making sure that we're incorporating trainings around IDEA and equity, and making sure that filters into our permit process as well as all of our employee training. And we have to improve our communication between the communities and the health department. And that's going to require hiring someone to lead our health department who cares about addressing climate change, who cares about addressing public health, and is justice-minded. That process is going to have to be in collaboration with the community. So we are going, as county executive, make sure that we have a robust search process that includes the voices of impacted community members in environmental justice communities, so that we can get the leadership we need who are going to care for the things that we all care about and ensure that they are leading us into a more healthy future.
Thank you, candidate Innamorato. Appreciate that. Okay, so candidate Fawcett, your response.
Yeah, thank you. Before I answer that question, I just want to thank all of you for being out here, and especially everyone who's all involved in nonprofits. You do really invaluable work, super important. I've been involved in nonprofits myself throughout my whole career, maybe in a little different space, but I've worked with the Juvenile Law Project out of Philadelphia that they work on juvenile justice issues. I've worked with the ACLU, bringing suits against the county relative to treatment of inmates in the jail, and worked with the Pennsylvania Innocence Project, all in the criminal justice space. And also, for years, I was on River Life Task Force, and so took a big interest in sort of environmental issues and land use issues that really impact all of us. The question here is really, what can we do? What can we do, and what would I do as county executive to make the health department more responsive to community environmental justice needs? Now, this is a complicated issue. Thank you for asking the first question. It's a difficult one, but if you know the health department, and even if you go on their website, you'll see the health department has enormous responsibilities, and they're all over the board on everything. They run an immunization clinic, a pediatric dentistry, a public health clinic that deals with HIV and STDs, and a pulmonary center, women's, infant, and children's program, food safety, and so on. One thing after another, housing and air quality monitoring, and so on. To make the health department more responsive, I think we need to actually have them focus on health, principally, health services, health monitoring, and so on. But really, some of our really biggest questions in issues that we have in this county, I think are more or less legal matters. And one of the first things I would do is create a DEE, a Department of Environmental Enforcement. Take these issues of enforcement out of the hands of the health department. So, for example, with air quality in the Mon Valley, and relative to groundwater issues and contamination and so on, we need a distinct department with lawyers that are going to enforce the law. We have the law on the books. And I don't think we should have the health department really staffed and run by a board of doctors largely in that space. Let them do the monitoring, let them do the health work that they have a specialty in, and let's have a separate DEE that really takes on the corporate polluters and takes on these issues and is well equipped to do that. So I think that's one thing you could do that actually would make the health department more responsive and more effective.
Thank you very much for your response. Before we move on to the next question, we want to welcome John Weinstein for being here today. I just want to read a little bit about candidate Weinstein's background. So John is a lifelong resident of Allegheny County. Although he started his career in the private sector, he's followed his passion by committing to a career in public service. He served as the elected Allegheny County Treasurer since 1999 and has been re-elected countywide to 6 consecutive terms. John also serves as the president of the Retirement Board of Allegheny County and oversees the pension investment portfolio of nearly $1 billion. Among other notable achievements, John was awarded the Investment Policy Certificate of Excellence by the Association of Public Treasurers of the United States and Canada. The county's investment policy is distinguished and recognized as a comprehensive and well-developed investment policy that exemplifies a solid fiduciary standard. In addition, John has become a leader in green initiatives, implementing e-tax billing for real estate, e-pay for real estate, alcohol and rental vehicle taxes, as well as e-pay for dog licenses in Allegheny County. Treasurer Weinstein is committed to helping transform Allegheny County into a truly green government. So thank you very much for being here. And to just provide background on how this is working, is we're asking 10 questions. Each candidate, for each question, 2 candidates respond in person, but if you can't respond in person, you can respond in written format afterwards, okay? And we will make sure that everyone gets asked a certain number of questions. So what I'd like to do is move on to question number 2. And question number 2 is for candidate Parker and candidate Lamb. And it's from Upstream Pittsburgh, which is a nonprofit working in the 9 Mile Run watershed to restore and protect our watershed ecosystem while working regionally to support and implement resilient solutions like green infrastructure. So here's the question from Upstream Pittsburgh. As county executive, how would you ensure Alcosan utilizes some of their $2 billion to implement their clean water plan on green stormwater infrastructure? So candidate Parker is first.
Hello, everyone. What I would do personally is I would work with Alcosan to make sure that ideas are being brought to the table. We have issues with the stormwater, and we need ideas and input from more people who live close to this area, and we just need people to come together and offer solutions. I would like to see some technical solutions being provided. That's where it all starts. There's no one answer that I can give you. All I can say is we need to work together and come up with some great solutions so we can get this stormwater under control.
Thank you. Candidate Lamb.
So I am currently the longest serving board member of an organization called Three Rivers Wet Weather Demonstration Project. And we have focused on this issue, particularly in the Alcosan service area, and now moving beyond that. And I think that's an important part of this question, is that it's got to be more than just Alcosan, right? We've got Alcosan is 83 communities here in Allegheny County, but we've got 129 communities, and we've got to work to bring green technology, green solutions to every community in Allegheny. And I want to do that through creating an office of municipal partnership, where we're working with our municipalities every day on issues like this one, providing the infrastructure, green and otherwise, that they need in their communities to really address this issue. The biggest thing we know we can do is reduce stormwater at the source, right? Create programs that actually help us deal with that at the source. That enables us to have to invest less in the gray infrastructure. I would say that Alcosan in many ways has failed us through this process so far. The issue around combined sewer overflows obviously is something that we've spent a lot of time on, working on, but the focus at Alcosan has been particularly gray infrastructure. And even though they will talk a lot about green infrastructure, the reality is that it hasn't been incorporated into this solution as much as it should have been. We have worked really diligently to, we've established the rain gauge network, and we're watching where we can have the biggest impact of green infrastructure. But so much of it has to happen at the municipal level, because that's really where we're going to see that ability to capture and to really reduce, have source reduction of stormwater. And so focusing on helping our municipalities deal with these issues that obviously go beyond municipal boundaries, right? So when the 129 municipalities, they hold us back in many ways, but we can find ways to work with them. Organizations like Three Rivers Wet Weather is doing that. And so finding ways to reduce, but to also encourage Alcosan to pay more attention as we move through this process. It's not over yet, right? There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of opportunity for us to bring greener solutions to Alcosan. The other thing is, I think it's pretty clear that as you look around Allegheny County, we know what a green place it is just naturally. But our tree canopy is in danger. And we've got to be working in our county parks, along our trails, and in every community to really address our tree canopy and really helping to make these communities the green communities that we know that they can be. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Lamb. Appreciate it. Okay, our third question is for Candidate Weinstein and Candidate Fawcett. And the question is submitted by Grow Pittsburgh. Grow Pittsburgh is a nonprofit that develops and supports food growing initiatives and programs across the region, including community gardens and markets. So here's the question, Candidate Weinstein first. The City of Pittsburgh committed $3 million from American Rescue Plan funds to pay for a food justice fund that will support urban agriculture, food access, education programs, and more. Would you advocate for a countywide food justice plan? And if so, what would be your priorities?
Thank you. And I apologize for being late. I was hosting an event this morning. And it's terrific to be here, and thank you all for coming out. I'm John Weinstein. I've been the treasurer here for 25 years, as he mentioned, and I understand county government from the inside out immensely. And I've been working it every day, and this is a fantastic opportunity for us to to change the history and how our region is moving forward. But the answer to the question is yes, I would support that as a countywide initiative. And I am 100% in favor of developing a hunger-free Allegheny County. And I will work with all of the organizations that we have that are interested in helping us move that initiative forward. I would utilize our nonprofit community, our foundation community, and the business community, bring them all together to fund the operation. And I will have commitments from our labor, friends in labor, organized labor as well, to be helpful in terms of funding the initiative. I'm 1,000% committed to do that. I'm a father. I have 2 young children, twins, and no child should go hungry in Allegheny County. No senior citizen should go hungry in Allegheny County. And we should utilize the initiatives that we have and the relationships that we have to make sure that that happens. So I'm fully committed to doing that. So that's the answer to your question. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for correcting my mispronunciation.
No problem.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Okay. So candidate Fawcett, yours.
Great. So everywhere I go, I talk about making Pittsburgh and Allegheny County a beacon of sustainability. We have every ability to do that with our beautiful natural advantages, our rivers, our green hills, and so on. We can really raise our profile and revitalize our neighborhoods with good investment in sustainability. On a personal note, and the question here relates to countywide food justice, on a personal note, I've been a gardener all my life, and in terms of my personal practice, I only eat locally grown meat or locally killed meat, and wherever possible, eat vegetables and feed my family vegetables from local farms and in the garden. But anyway, I think it's really important for our rise as a sustainable area that we have a countywide food justice plan, and that in our neighborhoods that are disinvested and disadvantaged, that we have opportunities to have both gardening, urban gardening, and also have access to good food. And I think the county executive can do a number of specific things in that regard. First of all, push our existing big business grocery stores to open and offer real benefits in terms of good food, nutritional food in all their stores, and to place stores in areas where they might not have the same profit motive that they would in other neighborhoods. So I also think that in Western Pennsylvania, we have every opportunity to take advantage of our farms and our agriculture here and get good food into all our neighborhoods. It's locally grown and locally raised. I think that would be really, really tremendously important. And again, part of this move to make our region known as a sustainable area and raising our profile. And I think we need programs in new stores in neighborhoods that will have these options. If you're all, I'm sure, very familiar with, typically in our disadvantaged communities, you don't have the options that you do in the other communities. So all those things combined are things that I would advocate for as part of the bigger plan, again, to make Pittsburgh and Allegheny County a beacon of sustainability.
Thank you, candidate Fawcett. So just to check in with everyone, how's everyone doing, okay? Great. Thank you. Thank you for some good responses so far, so I appreciate that. Okay. Question number 4. Question 4 is for candidate Innamorato and for candidate Lamb. And it's from Women for a Healthy Environment, which is a women-led nonprofit that works with communities to identify and address harms that impact their health and environment. So here is the question first for candidate Innamorato. Nearly 3,000 children in Allegheny County have been poisoned with lead for between 2015 and 2021. This preventable and non-reversible lifelong impact affects the health, learning, and economic impact of our children. With approximately 80% of Allegheny County homes being built before lead was banned in 1978, and 40% of Pennsylvania homes having elevated cancer-causing radon and asthma-triggering mold caused by increased precipitation events from climate change, we find that many families are living under hazardous conditions. So the question is, please explain how you will use the powers and resources of the county to reduce environmental exposures in the home to create a healthier living space. Candidate Innamorato.
Thank you for the question, and I believe that every single person in Allegheny County deserves a safe, stable, and healthy and affordable home. So that is our North Star. So every decision that I make as county executive will help us lead us towards that vision, including remediating toxins from our home. So I believe that the first step that we have to take is doing a countywide rental registry. We have many property owners who are not investing in their units and are allowing their tenants to interact with harmful things like lead and mold, including young children. So having that level of data and that requirement and that oversight will ensure that we are creating safe and healthy living opportunities for all our residents of the county, whether you're a homeowner or a renter. Second, I will work with all of a number of organizations, including Action Housing and our County Department of Health and Human Services to deploy the whole home repair program. So I helped pass that at the state level. That is going to bring about $13 million to our county, and we need to make sure that it is deployed in an equitable way that prioritizes environmental justice communities and folks who are in vulnerable populations who are living in homes with health and safety hazards. That's going to help with home repair, weatherization, reduce climate use, create jobs, but it's also going to be an opportunity for us to leverage other monies like dollars from HUD to help remediate homes and remove health hazards in homes that are throughout our region. And we also have to use, make sure that we're building up our health department so that we have folks who have the capacity to go out into our communities and do these inspections so that we can connect homeowners and our community members with the resources that exist for them. We're living in a moment where we have an unprecedented amount of money at the federal level to be able to draw down and deploy in our communities so that we can actually honor this mission and these statements with real action that is going to enhance the quality of life of people throughout this region. And we also have such an opportunity with our housing authority. I've been the vice chair for the last 4.5 years, and we can leverage that authority in partnership with the county exec's office and our agencies to ensure that folks who are housing choice voucher holders and residents of public housing also benefit from having a safe and healthy place to call home.
Thank you, candidate Innamorato. Next we've got candidate Lane.
Several years ago, I authored a report about lead in the water system at the PWSA. And that began a conversation around what to do about it. And I'm proud to say that right now, the city of Pittsburgh is on its way of eliminating all lead from our water system throughout the PWSA system. Fortunately, it doesn't affect those customers of Pennsylvania American and other providers. But it pointed to the way that we could do it, getting the resources, driving that change, even going beyond just the basic water lines in the street, but the laterals all the way up to the house, funding that with some help from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and doing that. But we know that as much as that was a great thing and something we need to do, most lead contamination is airborne. It's not in the water system. And so we've got to take that same kind of drive and apply it across what we want to do in housing. Allegheny County's in a great position to do this with the health department, but also through what I've talked about earlier, creating this Office of Municipal Partnership, working with our municipalities, working with code enforcement officials across Allegheny County to identify these problems in our homes, across this county, and then incentivizing the change, working with landlords, working with homeowners to really drive this kind of improved situation of livability in every home across Allegheny County. It's going to take funding. It's going to take working with our lead housing advocates, and I agree, certainly Action Housing plays a big part in helping us to do this, but also at our housing authority. We have to make sure that these policies are part of everything that we do to make sure that these homes are healthier for everyone. I actually don't think we can do this without a new partnership with our municipal governments. We have to be able to drive that change and do it in a way that allows our municipalities to follow through on it. Code enforcement is the right vehicle, I think, to help identify a lot of these problems, working in conjunction with the health department. But it has to be done across every community and making sure that we can really address these problems. It's fixable. Like I said, we've done it with our water. Let's do it with our air. Let's do it with what we can do in every home in Allegheny County.
Thank you, candidate Lamb. So I just want to thank the nonprofit partners that have submitted these questions. These questions are tough, and I think our candidates are doing a great job. And we're fortunate to have so many people who've stepped up to lead this county. So thank you for the answers that you're giving. Okay, so the next question number 5, is submitted by Valley Clean Air Now. Valley Clean Air Now is a community-led movement that fights for residents in the Mon Valley who suffer from severe health, economic, climate, and environmental injustice from disproportionately high levels of pollution. So here's the question, and this is going to candidate Parker and candidate Weinstein. The question is, as county executive, how do you plan on addressing the historic levels of toxic pollution coming from our most toxic facilities, especially our most toxic, which is the Clairton Coke Works? Candidate Parker.
First, I would work with a team of people to work to see if we're really making sure how we give these places their permits. We want to make sure that they have all their check marks in place, because we can't just be allowing these people to have easy access to permits to keep working. Before I came in here, I checked the AQI, the Air Quality Index, which is at around 2025, which is pretty good. But out in the Mon Valley, that community's hit the hardest, with the steel plants out there, the coke plants, and a lot of people are affected when it comes to their health, when it comes to their mental health, physical health, and we need to make sure that we're just not offering these people easy access to operate. We need to come down on them, get some more suggestions, and work with the EPA to make sure that they're living up to the standards and they're cutting back on the pollutions. I'm also, there's a lot of jobs out there that these plants provide for people. So even though, I'm basically against this, I want to transition away from, all this production that's happening in Mon Valley and try to offer more green initiatives. I want to shut down these plants altogether, to be honest. I think that they've done so much harm to these communities. And these are the communities that suffer, in poverty, in education. And I just think that I would just focus on creating a team to hold these people accountable. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Parker. Candidate Weinstein.
Thank you. First and foremost, the county health department, I think, should be, the county health board should be staffed with the brightest and the best people that we can find. To me, that would also include representatives from the communities that are affected by a lot of the issues that we have in terms of the environment. That will be a priority for me, is to revitalize that health board with community representatives and the best and brightest people that we can find for that. I spent a lot of time in Clarendon. I've talked to a lot of people in Clarendon, and I want to partner with the community to improve the environmental quality, air quality in Clarendon and Roseburg and Braddock, anywhere that there's a facility that is polluting in the air and the water. And I'm also just as concerned about air quality inside our buildings, our schools, our aged architecture and infrastructure, and our facilities all over Pittsburgh and Allegheny County. There's a lot of older buildings that have air quality problems inside that our kids are breathing, and our senior citizens and everyone. And I believe we can utilize infrastructure funds from the federal government to help us clean that all up. To me, air quality is infrastructure, as is water quality. That's all related in infrastructure. And I will absolutely utilize all of the resources that we have to improve the air quality, especially for the people in Clarendon. As I said, I've been down there many times, and I've talked to the community, I've talked to the mayor, the council people, and there are a lot of jobs affected by this. And we have to find that balance of protecting the environment and the workforce as well. And there's a way to do that. And working with everyone together, everyone has a seat at the table to be able to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Weinstein. Before we go to the next question, I just want to remind everyone in the audience that if you think of a question you want to ask our candidates, please be sure to get a note card from the table in the back of the room and write that question down, and those will be read in a session that follows this particular session. Okay, so question number 6, which is from Clean Water Action, and this is for candidate Fawcett and candidate Parker. So Clean Water Action is a nonprofit that works to protect and advocate for our water and health from watershed to water tap. And the question is, when you become county executive, how would you figure out long-term financing of sustainable solutions that don't rely solely on fine money from our polluters?
I love this question. I'm glad I drew it. I told you I'm all about sustainability and making Pittsburgh and Allegheny County a beacon of sustainability. And you know, like all our issues though, that requires money. And right now we don't have the money to do it. Historically, we haven't even in Allegheny County had a real capital budget, other than one that takes care of roads and bridges and so on. But if we want to have a real sustainable area in region, we need to invest and make big investments. And that's going to be the county executive's job, to advocate for that. So right now, yes, we have infrastructure dollars. We have the clean water initiatives that Alcosan is involved with, that brings in lots of money, that's billions of dollars. And we have to make sure that that money is going to sustainability, so green infrastructure, and so on. I said earlier that one of the things I had advocated for, and actually had laws passed for, was the creation of a countywide riverfront park. So there's a law on the books of Allegheny County right now that empowers the county to do this. In a countywide riverfront park, what does that look like? What kind of investment is it? It's a matter of moving back rail lines and putting in a linear park that goes from county line to county line through our urban core and through our disadvantaged communities that are up and down these rivers. That's a big investment, but one that will really pay off with real rewards. And so to do that, I used to gulp when people would ask me, well, how much would that cost? I'd say, well, maybe $100 million. No. It'd be like $500–600 million. But it would be a great investment. How do you fund it? You fund it with infrastructure dollars, state and federal. You go to the philanthropic organizations and get money. I've been on the circuit and am assured that there's money there. And then the other thing that I would advocate, like the city did, the city passed a referendum calling for money to go to neighborhood parks. I would call for and ask the people to vote for a referendum that would have increased funding countywide, so that we can make these big capital investments. Right now, when we're in this sort of crossroads, what are we going to be in 10 and 15, 20 years? And what can we do now to get there? Sustainability, countywide riverfront park. It's a matter of social equity, a matter of lessening carbon footprint, about giving people options. That's something we should invest in. So I'm the candidate here with the plan and with the action items to get it done. So with regard to making big investments in our communities for the purpose of regenerating them through sustainability, I'm the right choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Fawcett. So, Candidate Parker, same question, thanks.
So what I would work on is trying to put together a general fund. You know, this is revenue. If we're not getting it from penalties from the polluters, we need to find a way, a sustainable way to generate revenue, and also look at taxes, put a tax on certain private sectors that are there's a lot of technology going on in Pittsburgh. Billions of dollars are coming here. Investors are investing here in technology from all over the world. And I would like to see some type of tax put in place, like a diversity tax. If people are included, there isn't a large portion of people from all different backgrounds included in emerging sector, we need to put a tax on them. And that tax will pay for things like these issues that we're facing with pollution, with water, cleaning our water. We need to hold them accountable. Like I said, we need to come up with and create ideas for something that can be possibly sold for profit, take a percentage of that, like I said, a general revenue fund, and that will allow us to pay for not only the issues that we face with water, but other issues. We basically don't have anything like that we can generate money from. If it's not coming from the federal government, if it's not coming from the state government, then we basically gotta hope and pray that these nonprofits or philanthropists come in and give us a hand. But we gotta move beyond that. We need to create a fund that we can pull from that helps us with these inequities that we face and pollution. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Parker. Okay, we're on now to question 7. And question 7 is for Candidate Lamb and Candidate Weinstein. And it's from the Black Urban Gardeners and Farmers of Pittsburgh Co-op, also known as BUGS. And it's a collective of Black men and women who are involved in urban agriculture, nutrition, and health advocacy. So here's the question, first for Candidate Lamb. Please define what food apartheid is and explain how you plan to to support food apartheid communities in order to relieve them of this paramount issue. Candidate Lamb, food apartheid.
So, food apartheid to me it's about a couple of things. It's about power, right? It's about the power of how nutritious food is made available across our community. And it's a recognition of the fact that in marginalized communities that power has not come our way to the community. And so the question is, what do you do about it? And I think there are a number of things that we can do. First off, we have to empower local growers and local communities, local co-ops. We have to empower them in a way and fund them in a way that allows them to provide nutritious food across all communities, particularly in marginalized communities. And I think there are a number of ways to do that. Obviously, the funding that we have, whether it's through our local CDBG funding or other funding available through DHS and through the Commonwealth, has to be made more available to empower local co-ops, local food bank, local farmers, and local growers to really make that available. when you think about, it's also obviously about advocating for more funding for programs like SNAP. But I think what we need to do is basically increase the value of SNAP when those benefits are being used to buy locally. And so when you buy locally, when you're working with a local grower, you're working with a local co-op, or any of the opportunities that we have out there, farmers markets, that those SNAP benefits should go further. So that obviously helps the customer, but also helps our local growing environment, and helps to keep local dollars here and encouraging those nutritious choices. But again, it takes an effort across our entire community to make sure that we have healthy choices in every community. We call them food deserts, but the fact is that we have to be able to get in there, and the way to get in there, I think, is to empower our farmers markets and our co-ops and our food banks to offer more healthy choices.
Thank you, Candidate Lamb. Candidate Weinstein.
Thank you. We have a program in Allegheny County called Clean and Green, and it's about helping farmers grow product, and they get a tax break on their assessment as long as they're under that program. But it's set at 10 acres. You have to have a minimum of 10 acres. And one of the ideas I had for making Allegheny County a hunger-free area was to expand that program and take it to 5 acres instead of 10, because you could still grow a lot of food on 5 acres of land. And I think it would be advantageous to help exactly what this question is going to, about growing nutritious products and feeding the hungry. I think the county, in a $3 billion budget, $1 billion of that being Health and Human Services, we could certainly find money to underwrite this. And most of the Health and Human Service money is matching funds. Even if it's grant money, there are programs for matching funds to be able to do this. So the food apartheid would be totally addressed by the fact that we can improve the opportunity for local growers to grow more food, more nutritious food. And the county health department can actually work with them in terms of what products are they actually growing, where's the food being processed, how is it being distributed, whether it's through farmers markets or co-op programs or grocery stores, Manchester Craftsman Guild, things like that. There's so many different opportunities that we can utilize, and helping to promote that. But getting more people to actually grow. There are a lot of people, you don't might think it because if you're living in the city, but outside in this county, there are a lot of municipalities that have a lot of land that's available for farming and growing crops. We need to really hone in on that and incentivize people to do that and grow more fresh food and to be able to attract the technology that you need to know how to grow it. I might be able to grow tomatoes or green beans, but there are other things that we can grow here that really will be helpful to our region. So I think the first step is changing the Clean and Green program and incentivizing more people to grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Weinstein. Okay, moving on to question 8, which is for Candidate Innamorato and Candidate Fawcett. And they come from Pittsburghers for Public Transit. Pittsburgh for Public Transit is a grassroots union of transit riders, workers, and neighbors who organize for an expanded, affordable, and accessible public transit system. So here's the question first for Candidate Innamorato and then Candidate Fawcett. Transportation emissions are now the single highest source of emissions leading to climate change in the United States. And that would be second most in Allegheny County. It's clear that electrifying transit, while beneficial, doesn't yield nearly the same air quality, climate emissions, and public health benefits as shifting people out of single occupancy vehicles and into walking, using public transit and biking. as the Allegheny County Executive, what would you do to support mode shift in ridership growth to address our climate crisis? Candidate Innamorato.
Thank you, and I think investing in our public transit system is a means to address systemic injustices as well as bolster economic development throughout our region. I think the first thing I would do is, as county executive, I would continue to ride the bus like I do today. It gives you a unique perspective on what is working and what isn't working and where our improvements can come. As county executive, I want to adopt a complete streets ordinance on any county roads that will allow us to invest in more walking and biking infrastructure, make our streets safer for residents who use it, and encourage municipalities to adopt that model policy. We have to think about how we can leverage our relationships with our big employers here in the region, and how do we encourage them to purchase bus passes in bulk. We can look at what other cities have done, like Seattle, and kind of do this mandate of drawing resources from our large employers to fund public transit by way of purchasing bus passes or investing in the system that is a good economic tool for them and also helps move their workforce around. The other thing I want to prioritize as county executive is transit-oriented development. And what that means is we're looking at where does our infrastructure around transit already exist? Where do we own land as either the county, where do municipalities own land, where does the Pittsburgh Regional Transit own land, and how do we incentivize community-centered, community-led development around those spaces that can include things like affordable housing, but also is mixed income and mixed use, so that we are concentrating density around our public transit lines. So that's good for reducing vehicles miles traveled, but it's also helps us address affordable housing shortages and enhances quality of life. So it's that kind of intersectional thinking that we need to bring to these challenges that are facing our region. And coming from the State House, I have the relationships with the General Assembly. I have done state budgeting. So I know how to walk the halls of Harrisburg and advocate for the things that will allow us to be able to invest in the people and the infrastructure here that is going to create a more just and equitable region for us all. And I will do that with you as county executive.
Thank you, candidate Innamorato. Okay, candidate Fawcett, same question about public transit.
So if we want to think globally and act locally, we absolutely have to reduce our carbon footprint and work to get people out of their cars, give people options. We have a lot of platitudes, but what action items can we take to make that happen? And it's not a matter of just more funding, it's okay, what can we do, again, to get people out of their cars? And look, if we want to make Pittsburgh a beacon of sustainability, we've got to give options to get people to reduce carbon footprint. Couple action items. Number one, our bus system. We need to increase ridership. It doesn't, and if it's increasing funding, we do it, but we have to increase ridership. I don't ride the bus anymore. I did for 30 years through law school and my first 25 years of practicing law. But what happened was the buses that used to come straight down from my neighborhood and come get on the busway and took 25 minutes now have been routed around and take an hour to get into town. Well, what happened then? The buses that used to be packed with people, now they're empty. Have you noticed the empty buses running in and out of town right now? When people can't get to doctor's appointments and people can't get to the job sites. What we need to do is focus on action that's going to raise ridership. And there's lots of good ideas to make that happen. And it's going to involve investing in those ideas. So for example, they call it intermodal or cross routes. So you're not just going in and out of town, because that's not what everyone is doing now. They need to get to other places. So the bus system, honestly, needs to be changed so that we're actually using it. Biking, we need to extend it. The ability to actually bike, countywide riverfront park, bikeways throughout the city. Look, when I was on River Life, we invested billions of dollars in the city. The Interloop, and we're working on creating that, and there's been a lot of economic development, but we stopped in the city, and that should be extended up and down our river valleys. Okay, big investment that allows bikeways across the county and gets people out of their cars and onto bicycles to commute. Light rail, another option. Big investment, but a big payback. So all of these things are things that we really need to focus on. Big investment in alternatives to lessen our carbon footprint and make Pittsburgh and Allegheny County the beacon of sustainability that we can be.
Thank you, candidate Fawcett. Okay, we're on to question 9 now, and question 9 is for candidate Parker and candidate Weinstein. And it comes from Negley Run Watershed Task Force, which is a collaboration that engages community creatives and professionals in urban ecosystem regeneration. So here's the question first for candidate Parker. Climate trends reveal more intense rainstorms each year. These rains lead to more sewer overflows, river pollution, and flash floods. Knowing that rainwater is regulated as a land use and a municipal issue, what will you do as county executive to help municipalities and the region better manage stormwater?
So one of the best things that we could do is, again, everything that everyone's saying up here, we're going to need to bring the best minds, creative solutions together. But I will be looking for people who want to possibly participate in a challenge so we can bring the best solutions together. We can collaborate and offer and share resources. You know, this is an issue that's been going on for years here. And the only way that I see that we're really going to tackle it head on is if we bring everybody to the table. Like I said, there's no one thing that I can say to just, that's the brightest and best idea. I would like to collaborate with other people, you know, because our water and our sewers are getting backed up, and it's causing a lot of overflow. It's causing a lot of toxins to be deposited into our soils, which are being contaminated. So when we talk about you know, growing our food, we also have to make sure that the water's not contaminated in these areas. But I would just work on bringing the best minds together and coming up with the most creative solutions. We have to evolve, continue, and always evolve around the best solutions. Because even if we tackle something right now, tomorrow there may be another problem that we're facing. So we just got to look forward and bring visionaries together who could create the best solutions. Thanks.
Thank you, candidate Parker. Appreciate it. Same question for candidate Weinstein.
Thank you. I have a unique perspective on this question because I have, unlike any other candidate, I've actually served on the board of Elkasan for 10 years. And I understand the sewage problem, I understand the stormwater initiatives and the problems that we face. You know, when it rains here, it rains really hard. Sometimes monsoon storms hit Pittsburgh and Allegheny County and western Pennsylvania and flash flooding. The system cannot handle all of that. And what happens is it overflows and contaminates the rivers. That's ultimately why we're under the federal consent decree to clean up the rivers. But to avoid this problem coming in the future, this is about understanding the not only the demographics of Allegheny County, but the topography of Allegheny County. Some municipalities have higher elevation, some have lower elevation. Well, water only runs one way, downhill. I've never seen water run uphill, and it's not going to unless you pump it. So partnering with these municipalities that have these stormwater issues is key to resolving this problem, first and foremost. And Elkasan has spent an exorbitant amount of money and time over the past several decades to address stormwater management. They process 500 million gallons of sewage a day. Most of that is stormwater. You need the water to move the sewage through the system, and you need the stormwater actually does that. So Elkasan took over the trunk lines, which are pipes that are larger than 24 inches from the municipalities throughout the county. It was a major initiative to do that. The pipes are at least 2 feet in diameter or larger. And those pipes move an exorbitant amount of water and sewage through them at the same time. And in order to do that, we took the pipes off of the municipalities, which meant we took the financial responsibility off of those municipalities. That's the first step in doing this, so that they could afford to improve the infrastructure and utilizing green technology. Everyone has a different definition of green, too. Some people, it's a rain barrel. Some people, it's a bioswale. There's so many different initiatives that we could utilize for green technology. But we took the burden of the main trunk lines off of the municipalities to help the system flow better, and the financial burden as well. And we're going to be able to partner with our municipal friends, the 130 municipalities in this county, and continue to do that, especially the municipalities that are in low topography areas, and the water's going to run there and flood the municipalities. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much, Candidate Weinstein. Okay, so we're going to move on to question number 10, which is our last 3-minute response question. And it will go to Candidate Lamb and Candidate Innamorato. But before I ask the question, I just want to acknowledge the person who's been working harder than the hosts and the candidates today, and that's our language interpreters here, Nick Miller and Josh Stressing. I just want to thank you for your service and for what you're bringing to this event. We really appreciate it. It makes a huge difference, so thank you. Okay, question number 10, first for Candidate Lamb, comes from Communitopia, which is a nonprofit that provides transformative climate change education that develops today's climate leaders and advances equitable solutions. And so here's the question. As county executive, how will you promote climate resiliency and education in Allegheny County, particularly for environmental justice communities, youth, and schools? Candidate Lamb, thanks.
So I think there are a number of things we can do, both big and small, in this area to get people around the issue of climate, and whether we're talking about air or water or whatever. The little fish insignia that you see on your catch basins on the street. Those help. You know, those get people to understand that throwing stuff into the sewer, throwing stuff isn't helpful, and doing those kind of efforts. One of the best things that I think young people can do, and you'll laugh at this, but a field trip at the Elkasan plant is an amazing opportunity for people to understand what really is going on and what's going on around clean water and how storm events affect clean water. Those are opportunities, and in every school district across this county. And that could be said for any of the entities that the county is connected to, and something that I would really push for. Whether it's Port Authority, getting not just our young people, but even some of our policy leaders need to ride the bus every once in a while and understand what's really going on and the crisis that we face around public transit. So any of the authorities where the county is involved, health department, the Port Authority, Alkasan, those opportunities, providing those opportunities and openness for educational opportunities for our schools, for organizations, even for our policy leaders sometimes is necessary. And I think we can encourage that and give people, if you look at what the Alcosan does now with the open house and those kind of opportunities, to really for people to understand what's happening at a policy level. And in the health department, you know, when we have these networks of alerts and alarms, let's let people understand what they are and how they work. And obviously, let's hopefully make those alarms work a little quicker than they do right now. But just people understanding the infrastructure that the county has and how it can be improved, and the efforts and the systems that we have and how they can be improved, and doing that even at the elementary level in our public school system, all the way up through up to our many of our policy decision makers who need that education as well.
Thank you, Candidate Lamb. Same question for candidate Innamorato.
Our young people are really leading the charge when it comes to addressing climate change, and they are crying out to elected officials to do something because this is the world that they're going to inherit. And I would say, in my time in the legislature, I heard their cries fall mostly on deaf ears. And we have to remember first that we have environmental justice communities because government failed people, because they let racism and poverty perpetuate and not intervene in the ways that we can as government entities to protect people from industrial harms. So we need a two-pronged approach when it comes to addressing environmental justice here in our region. First, we need to help right the wrongs of the past, and that involves direct investment in these communities. We have a fund, the Clean Air Fund, at the county level that has millions of dollars in it at the moment that's not transparent really in its use, or has not been used in a way that could have community-led impacts and investments back into our region. So we can make put transparency around that, have folks apply for it, make sure that we're investing in communities that have been most harmed by industrial polluters historically. And then we also have to think about our future and how are we using the convening powers of the county exec's office to ensure that we can be a clean, green region, and that we are addressing climate change in systemic and intersectional ways, but we're also building up an economy that is more diverse and resilient and includes people from impacted communities. And that involves us, convening the folks necessary to be able to create that vision. And that gives us the ability to draw down those federal dollars that exist that are going to states all around us, but not in our region, so that we can build up green manufacturing and things that can put people to work and also address our climate crisis long term. When we do that, we also need to be including our schools and the folks who are leading CCAC to ensure that we are creating programs that are specific for our youth, that give them the opportunity to participate in that new economy. That includes creating youth programs at the school level, but it also makes sure that we're using our community college to offer free or low-cost opportunities for education, and that those education opportunities are in line with national standards. So we're actually giving them quality investments and opportunities. Really, this is our opportunity to center the communities that have been most impacted and hear from folks. And as county executive, I'm going to ensure that we are not governing from downtown, but we are going out into our communities and we're listening, and most importantly, we're responding with tools and resources and actions that show that we are ready to walk the talk. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Innamorato. And so thanks to all the candidates for this part of the program with your thoughtful responses. We have a few questions left, but these are for all 5 of you at the same time. And the response is really just yes or no. And so you have paddles in front of you that say yes or no on them, or the symbol of, check for yes and X for no. And so that's the only response we're looking for. So I'll read the question, and if you could please hold up your paddle, that would be really appreciated. Okay, so there are 5 of these questions. The first question comes from Pittsburgh United, which is a coalition of community, labor, faith, and environmental organizations committed to advancing the vision of a community and economy that work for all people. So here is the question. Will you advocate for countywide customer assistance for local utilities? Please indicate yes or no. So we've got check marks across the board. Okay, thank you very much. Question number 2 is from Grounded, which is a nonprofit that works to improve the social, economic, and environmental health of distressed and transitional communities. And so here's the question, again, yes or no. There are more than 22,000 vacant and tax delinquent lots in Allegheny County. Will you ensure equitable access to these spaces and long-term security for community groups using these spaces to create a positive impact in their communities? Yes or no? Okay, check marks across the board. Okay, very good. Question number 3 is from Clean Air Council, which is an environmental health advocacy organization fighting for everyone's right to a healthy environment. So here's the question. The EPA is currently in the process of revising federal standards for fine particulates PM 2.5. Would you commit to testifying at the 3 boards of health meetings following the passing of a new EPA standard for fine particles to request that the Allegheny County Health Department implement the new standard within 3 years? Yes or no? Please, okay, yes across the board. Okay. The 4th question, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. 4th question, will you support a fracking ban in Allegheny County? Yes or no? Okay, we have, okay, almost all. And then the final question, okay, so there are some questions from 412 Justice, which is a multiracial, intergenerational, and multi-issue organization that focuses our efforts around economic, environmental, and education justice. And actually that fracking ban question comes from 412 Justice, and there's one more, which is, will you work towards a zero-lead future for Allegheny County? Yes or no? Okay. Thank you all very much for your responses. Let's thank our candidates for these responses. And then I'm going to pass the microphone over to Angel, and she's going to ask questions that have come from the audience. So thank you, Angel.
Thank you so much. All right, let's give it up for our candidates so far. They've done a great job. Okay, so I had to do some negotiating in the back with all these questions. We have a lot of great questions. We have lumped together questions that have already been asked. So the questions that I'm not going to ask today, we will email all of the candidates, and hopefully you can post them on your social media, or you can respond back to 412 Justice, and we'll share them on our social media page. Okay? So I just have, hello? Okay. I just have 3 yes or no questions, so can we use, this will be for all of them, and they can just use the paddle? Okay. Okay, will you support free bus transit for youth under age 18 for usage 24/7? All right. Okay, would you be willing to dramatically increase the fines on polluters to a percentage of company revenue, even if it leads to companies shutting down and leaving Allegheny County? Yes or no? Okay. All right. Will you honor your oath of office to the Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3, and in excluding Indians not taxed, by working with our nation's people to address sustainable methods, tried and true, according to our ancestors' culture of water collection and redistribution of food forestry, which provides remedy for the climate changes and food production as well as stormwater remediation, yes or no? And so are we allowing two candidates to ask one question? Okay. What do you feel needs to be put into place in case of a train derailment such as occurred in Ohio and in Oakmont? So who would be next to ask the question? So, you want me to read it again?
I would just like to say, my solution, I would like to see if the trains are required to slow down and do a certain speed limit when they're traveling through populations, high percentage populations.
All right. What do you feel needs to be put into place in case of train derailment such as occurred in Ohio and in Oakmont?
Oh my God, we need to reclaim our riverfronts and move the rail lines back. You know, that Norfolk Southern line comes right in by the Heinz plant, goes up 28 miles right by the Shaler Waterworks in the city of Pittsburgh water treatment plant, and goes right next to the river, our source of drinking water. So what I would do, I'm talking about this countywide riverfront park again, is reclaim our riverfronts, move back the lines. That's the first thing we need to do to prevent catastrophic, potentially really catastrophic problems. So thanks for letting me answer that question.
I would just say that we need to do a couple of things. First off, we need to limit speed, we need to limit spacing, and we need to limit size of these trains. And that's got to be done at the federal level, but something I certainly would advocate for.
All right, next question. I guess Sarah and Mr. Weinstein will be next. What strategies do you have for addressing vacant land and blight properties that can be put to better use?
So we need a countywide land bank that is administered in partnership with impacted communities with high levels of blight so that we can have community-led solutions on how we can best use this vacant land and bring it back into productive reuse. I used to work for GTech Strategies, which is now called Grounded, and we had an ambassador model where we didn't impose what was going on in the community, but we worked with the communities, provided technical resources and access to monies so that they could have a community-led process on how they could reimagine green space and what their community needed and what they had the capacity to maintain. So investing in community-led initiatives like that would be a priority as county executive. And then we also have this opportunity to use vacant blighted land and help address our affordable housing crisis. So we have groups like the City of Bridges Community Land Trust. There's growing interest in limited equity cooperatives that democratizes housing and helps people move from rental to building equity. And really bringing all of those parties together is going to be how we address this vacant land issue collaboratively with an equity mindset, and ensuring that no one's kind of left out of that conversation.
It's not just about vacant land. Your questions are most importantly about blighted property. And there are a lot of blighted properties in Allegheny County. And the best way we can address the blighted property situation and address affordable housing is through the development of a tax claim bureau. Allegheny County does not have one. We should have one to take a piece of blighted property to sale. If we had a tax claim bureau, it would be very, very reasonable, like $400 or $500, and it's quick. If you took it to sale now, you have to go through the sheriff's sale process, which is very costly and very time consuming, which is why it doesn't really happen. So if we created the tax claim bureau, we could take these blighted properties, flip them and get them back on the tax rolls, get someone to buy them and develop them, rehabilitate them, and actually create affordable housing in municipalities where it's necessary. We're in Wilkinsburg. There's a lot of blighted properties in Wilkinsburg. There's 900, I believe, at least 900 blighted properties in this community alone in Wilkinsburg. This program could work. We could put those properties, we could rehabilitate them, put them back on the tax rolls, and that would be a terrific opportunity. And I just want to say one comment about the rail. You know, it's totally about slowing down as you're coming through highly populated areas and regulating that through everywhere we possibly can do it. I didn't realize we were on that time. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to turn this next question into yes or no so everyone can answer. Will you commit to holding UPMC accountable by paying property taxes and as a nonprofit charitable organization? Everybody answer? Okay. All right, this next question is about climate change. Climate change will increase how long and often our power goes out because of more frequent and powerful storms. How will you make our electrical services more reliable and resilient for all of the neighborhoods? So I guess we'll start with Mr. Fawcett, and then Ms. Innamorato can answer that as well. Okay, climate change. Climate change will increase over time, how long and often our power goes out because of more frequent and powerful storms. How will you make our electrical services more reliable and resilient for all of our neighborhoods?
Are we allowed to answer a question with I don't know?
You can answer a question however you
Yeah,
want.
no, I'm kidding. Honestly, I'm not an expert in keeping electric facilities reliable. I certainly think we should lessen our dependence on our traditional electrical, our electric companies. And certainly, I think to make Pittsburgh a beacon in sustainability, that we want to be pushing the use and manufacture of alternative energies. So that's solar and wind, without a doubt. I think that would help protect us to some degree. Thanks.
So climate change is already here. We're experiencing it in our region. What climate change means for Pennsylvania is that we are seeing more intense rainfalls, which means that we are more susceptible to flooding and stormwater, as well as electrical outages. We do need to increase our investment in renewables in the capacity of the county exec's office. So, a low-hanging fruit is ensuring that we are putting solar on all of our county-owned buildings. We've already started to do that in our parks, but we have a lot of ways to go in order to do that. But the other thing we need to do is, in addition to encouraging more renewables and encouraging our utilities to invest in transmission, more efficient transmissions and things like that, is we have to really invest and double down on energy efficiency, because regardless of how the energy is created, we need to be able to move it more efficiently to buildings, and then once buildings are using it, we need to make sure that its used as efficiently as possible. So, again, investing in our county-owned properties. There's things like the CPACE program that we could better utilize that would allow for privately owned businesses to invest in energy reduction, and then again, really draw down those federal dollars and help electrify as many buildings as possible throughout our region.
Answer that.
30 seconds.
I also think we need to strengthen our power grid. Like the candidates have mentioned, we need to invest in solar. So when the power does go out or the systems are shut down, we at least have some backup energy stored to where the customers and residents. Power doesn't completely go out. Maybe only a couple of their outlets may work, but we want to make sure that their power isn't completely out. Maybe they can just operate on low mode or something like that, but we just need to strengthen our power grid and create a stronger backup system.
All right. Final question, and we're going to start with Mr. Michael Lamb and then John Weinstein. All right, what plans have you considered for workforce development to resolve and prevent environmental justice issues?
So I created the Allegheny Achievers Program just for this. The Allegheny Achievers Program will allow every high school graduate in Allegheny County to go to community college for free. And we know right now, if you look across Allegheny County at job vacancies, we know 60% of all job vacancies require some form of certificate, but not a 4-year degree. We can address that workforce need with our people. It's about investing in us. We talk about a lot about investing in our community. We've got to invest in our young people, and this is one way we can do that. We also know that there's a massive student debt crisis across this country and here at home. And if we can allow students to get 60 credits for free before they go on to a 4-year program, if that's what they choose to do, that's great. And we know that the community college is a great feeder for so many of our frontline workers, whether it be bus drivers, whether it be our public safety personnel, whether it be candidates for our apprenticeship programs and our trades. This is a win-win-win for us. It's game-changing for our county. It's a big program, it's a bold program, but it's something that we need to do for our community.
I've had the pleasure to serve on a charity board called the Challenge Program. And the board, the program, what it does is incentivizes kids in school, not only to stay in school for attendance, but to improve their GPA and their grade point average. And the program works so fantastic, and I've been so honored and proud to be part of that. And in continuing that, I think we could do that everywhere. I mean, I'm all for investing in our young people. We have serious problems in some of our school systems. The reading proficiency rate in some Pittsburgh public schools is at 22%. That's not acceptable for job development, the workforce development. But I want to partner with our trades. I've been endorsed by the Allegheny County Labor Council and the building trades. There's so many opportunities for apprenticeships, for carpenters and bricklayers and steam fitters, for everyone. And it can work so well here in Allegheny County. We just need the leadership and the opportunity to be able to put it together. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello? Here we are. Thank you to all the candidates who came to answer questions. You all did wonderful, and we got through all the questions, so I'm happy, and even got to some of the audience questions. So I'm going to close us out for today. I want to first, again, remind people that if you do have questions, please see us at the back table with index cards to write your questions. We will be sending out an email to all of you to follow up with answers on that question, as well as sending you out a survey so we know how the event went, and also give you another opportunity to add feedback about this event. But before we leave, I do want to talk about a few upcoming events of our partners. So with us at 412 Justice, we are having an Earth Day event on April 22nd. We have more information at our table on details of that event. And we also have a lobby day that is April 26th, where we will be taking people up to Harrisburg to advocate for education and environmental issues. Our partner Upstream will be having a Fern Hollow Community Visioning Walk. So envisioning what we're going to be doing with the Fern Hollow Bridge when it comes to green infrastructure. And we will also be having an annual stream sweep on April 22nd to help clean up 9 Mile Run in Frick Park. And I'm probably going to pronounce this very wrongly, Let's Talk About Herpetology event on May 13th. And I have one more. Hold on with me. Thank you. And we have our environmental justice table convening that will be at Wilkinsburg Community Schools on April 15th from noon to 3. And last but not least, we are having a cleanup in Clairton at the Clairton Community Garden on April 29th. So again, I wanted to thank everybody for coming out. Thank you to our moderator, Matt, and our timekeeper, Ms. Paulette, and our interpreters who came out to the event, and our people who are serving food. Ms. Noel, thank you so much for holding that down for us. And to all the partners that helped us put this together, this has been a great event. I hope you all got your questions answered, and we will see you at the next event. Thank you, everybody.
Everyone, before you leave, I just want to say one last thing. I know we answered these questions. Some of us didn't get to answer some of them, and some of us have more of an expertise. And I just wanted to know if you guys have 5 more seconds to where we could have a minute closing statement. Would you mind that? 1 minute closing statement from each candidate? We have one. Okay, well, I would like to have a closing statement. I just want to say this one time. I want to thank everyone for coming out. I want to thank because we care about the environment. I believe that every one of us candidates care about the environment. I know I do. I just want the ability for us to work together. I want to reflect our environmental goals to be reflective of this room. I want input from everybody. You know, one person can't do this alone. It's an initiative that's going to take everyone, you know, and I want to make sure that we come together like this all the time and we offer our solutions and we work together because that's the only way we're going to fix these issues based around the environment, climate change, the air that we breathe in. It's very important. So I just want us to work together. That's it. Thank you.